truth shakes power.
Power of fierce sunlight!
The governor knew earlier than he claims.
This wasn't mismanagement. It was covered up.
The Minnesota Whistleblowers, in theaters now. Gary.
President Trump just said what millions of Americans have been thinking for years. If Ilhan Omar married her own brother to commit immigration fraud, throw her the hell out of the country. Those were his exact words, and tonight the evidence that has been circulating for years is finally getting the spotlight that it deserves. Marriage documents, immigration records, overlapping addresses, a trail of alleged fraud so blatant it would land any ordinary American in prison. But Omar is not ordinary, and she is being protected until now. And of course, you know she's sweating under that hijab. But let me be clear about what's actually being alleged here. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar allegedly married her biological brother, Ahmed Nur Said Elmi, to help him gain United States citizenship. Marriage records have been made public, showing the union in 2009. The timelines have raised questions for years, and if true, this is not a minor paperwork error. This could be felony immigration fraud, tax fraud, perjury, student loan fraud, passport fraud, and yes, bigamy. All rolled into one shiny package that President Trump is about to unwrap. Yes, he addressed it directly on December 1st at the White House and said she supposedly came into our country by marrying her brother. And if that is true, she should not be a congresswoman, and we should throw her the hell out of the country. Omar has repeatedly denied these allegations, calling them absurd and offensive, but citizens across America are connecting the dots because the controversy does not exist in a vacuum. It exists alongside a massive voter fraud investigation now tying Somali communities to fake registrations across 13 Minnesota counties, including Omar's own district. And we do have some breaking news that is just crossing. While politicians like Ilhan Omar allegedly game the system, hardworking Americans are finding a way to fight back financially. Silver just hit an all-time high. One company is making headlines. AmeriCorps Resources, ticker AMCOF in the United States and AMCO in Canada, just secured the Trinity Silver Project in Nevada. The previous owner, Newmont, the $100 billion mining giant, just liked the deal so much that they took a stake. Nearly 800,000 ounces already stockpiled at $50 silver. That's $40 million in contained metal. And the stock, guess what? It's still under 25 cents. When the system is rigged, you find your own edge. You'll find the link in the description down below. We thank them for supporting this program. Now, the Minnesota news cycle is a firestorm. The Somali-run voter fraud ring has now been uncovered across 13 counties. Fake names, fake addresses, fraudulent ballots pumped into Democrat elections. Blaze Media confirming billions stolen through Somali welfare, daycare, and COVID fraud networks. The DOJ is investigating whether taxpayer dollars flowed to the al-Shabaab terrorists, and the center of it all sits Ilhan Omar's district. But when confronted, Omar plays the victim card. She claims that there's hate everywhere for Muslims and black women and immigrants. She says she checks all of those boxes. Translation? When caught, weaponize identity. When cornered, cry racism. But Americans aren't buying anymore. All those victimhood cries are falling on deaf ears because they've used them so much they have no meaning anymore. They once did. People once cared about them. But not when you cry wolf every single day. You see, in her marriage documents, they've been public for years. And under this administration, the political immunity Omar once enjoyed may finally be crumbling. We have this from 4 hours ago. Trump reignites the Ilhan Omar marriage controversy, saying, throw her the hell out. Well, if it's true, she shouldn't be a congresswoman, and we should throw her the hell out of the country. The words of our great commander-in-chief on Ilhan Omar. Salty Goat 24 hours ago. People hate Ilhan Omar because she's an ungrateful, traitorous bitch that hates this country, not because of the color of her skin or her religion. It's true. I don't care if she's a woman. I don't care if she's a Muslim. What I care about is the rhetoric that comes out of your mouth. Some people did something. Remember that? Oh, we'll never forget that. Some people did something. Well, some people did something when they married their brother. Ilhan Omar's victim card meltdown 24 hours ago with Caitlin Collins. There's hate everywhere. Hate everywhere, and I check all the boxes.
Why do you think Nancy Mace is targeting you as much as she is?
It's an easy clickbait. There is a lot of hate in this country for Muslims. There's a lot of hate in this country for black people, especially black women. And there is a lot of hate, severe hate, for immigrants. And so I fit them all. She knows that she can easily raise money and get support for her bigotry from her bigoted, the bigoted people who want to give money to her campaign. But the reality is, in this country, the First Amendment does not only protect speech, it protects the right and liberty for anybody to practice their faith. I do practice the Muslim faith. I am an immigrant. I am proud of both those things. And I was, of course, born in Somalia, which the president likes to mention. And I'm also proud of my Somali heritage, and that is not something that they can take away from me. And I just want to say, one thing that the president should understand is that you can't impeach a sitting member of Congress. And it is unfortunate that the members of Congress have not educated their uneducated president about how things work in Congress.
Well, we can revoke your citizenship and send you back to the place that you're so proud to be from. 13 hours ago, breaking news, voter fraud case in Minnesota ties Somali communities with registering fake Democrats, fake names, addresses created for hundreds of voter applications submitted to election offices, 13 unnamed counties, including Ilhan Omar's district, paid for by an unnamed foundation to help register voters. Here is CBS News Minnesota.
Voter registration allegations in a Minnesota voter fraud case that first came to light this summer. 2 people pleaded guilty in federal court to being paid to help register voters. In all, 500 to 600 fraudulent voter registration applications were submitted to election officials in offices in 13 Minnesota counties. Esme Murphy has been following this case, and she joins us now. Esme?
Hi there, Frank. It was some sharp election workers in Carver County who realized the names and addresses on the voter registration forms did not match with any county residents. Prosecutors charged 2 people with 1 count each of voter registration fraud. According to the charging documents, the 2 were paid by an unnamed foundation to help register voters. The 2 defendants pled guilty this summer and have since moved out of state. The scope of the 2-year FBI and state investigation was not previously known.
And it's very significant that they said today it was 13 counties, between 500 and 600 fake voter registrations. And that's just from 2 of the independent contractors that worked with this group.
The investigation involves scouring hundreds of records.
On guidance from the FBI, the voter registration applications were mailed directly to the election lead, and instructions were shared to use gloves when handling the forms.
In testimony before the committee, Minnesota Secretary of State Steve Simon says the system designed to catch voter fraud worked.
This is a case about individuals who conspired to submit false voter registration applications. This is not a case about fraudulent votes. And this is ultimately a case of the system working.
How many were in the system is challenged.
Republican Committee Chair Kristen Robbins, who is running for governor, says she has additional concerns that the unnamed foundation that paid the 2 workers is funded by state taxpayer dollars.
99% of their budget comes from state grants. So this is a group that the state is funding and that then went out and did these voter registrations.
Now, the hearing left a lot of people, including us, with a lot of questions that were not answered. One of the big ones, the
allegations in a Minnesota voter fraud case that first came to light this summer.
Oh, yes, and it lands in Ilhan Omar's district. This is the question every American should be asking. People like Mandami and Ilhan Omar should not be in our government. This will be the downfall if we continue to allow this. Sassafras posting this.
Has openly, why do we allow people that are not natural born citizens of this country to represent the natural-born citizens of this country? Do we think that people that have openly said that their allegiance lies with another country are going to represent you and I and everybody else? That's an absurd thought, and we all know it's not true. So when are we going to wake the fuck up and quit allowing people to come here from other countries who are not citizens to serve in our government and make policy that does not represent the United States taxpayer? When are we going to wake up and fix that? Because that's the actual problem here, and nobody wants to say it. These people do not belong here. When you bring third world people to America, they don't magically convert into American culture. They bring over all the savagery that they have lived with their entire lives here to your backyard. And the reason they're allowed to do that is because people who never have to deal with the consequences of these actions continue to fucking allow it.
Do you agree? Yes or no? Here we have more. Ilhan Omar committed crimes, salty ghostwrite. Ilhan Omar committed crimes including marriage fraud, tax fraud, immigration fraud, student loan fraud, perjury, bigamy, incest, kickbacks, bribery, campaign finance abuse. Who thinks she needs to be denaturalized and deported immediately? What do we have here?
Florida. Also asking Congresswoman Craig to initiate an ethics investigation into Congresswoman Omar because of questions about federal tax fraud, federal immigration fraud, federal student loan fraud, and state violations of perjury, bigamy, kickbacks, and acts of campaign fraud abuse in Boston, Washington, New York, Chicago, and Florida. There are also violations of state ethics or of the Minnesota House ethics rules regarding colleges for speeches she gave while she was in partial control of their budgets as a member of the House Higher Education Finance Committee in both 2017 and 2018. She was found guilty of the violations by the Minnesota Campaign Finance Board 3 weeks ago in order to return those funds on June 6th. Ms. Omar appears to be a serial career criminal and should not have access to our nation's highest secrets and intelligence. That is why I'm calling on our Congresswoman Angie Craig to protect both our national security and our respect of the rule of law. Tax fraud, immigration fraud, student loan fraud, perjury, bigamy, kickbacks, and campaign abuse fraud from the East Coast to the Mississippi River.
Holy cow.
If those charges have been brought, asking Congresswoman Craig.
Oh, yeah. Looks like the circle is tightening. President Trump on Ilhan Omar.
Telling us, frankly, don't need their people coming into our country telling us what to do.
And you talk about
I'm talking about like Somalia, where you have a congressman goes around telling everybody about our Constitution, and yet she supposedly came into our country by marrying her brother. Well, if that's true, she shouldn't be a congressman, and we should throw her the hell out of our country. Frankly, don't need their people.
Throw her the hell out of our country, President Trump said. We have this. 24 hours ago, Ilhan Omar did marry her brother, Ahmed Nur Said Elmi. The marriage records have been made public, showing she helped him gain citizenship, and that's a crime. Should she be denaturalized and deported back to Somalia? Yes, my friends, we've seen these pictures. We've seen the documents. This is nothing new. But, of course, she deflects. She lies. Representative Ilhan Omar says she wants to force Americans to register their guns so that the government can start a buyback program. Paul Zapula writes, what she's really saying is she wants to force Americans to be defenseless. Here's a better idea. He says, deport Ilhan.
Be thinking about it. We have more guns in this country than we have humans. So one of the things that's going to be important is to create a registry. So we know where the guns are. We can know when they go into the wrong hands, when they're stolen. And we can actually start a buyback program. I know that some of the Minnesota legislators have had that legislation, and that's something that we should be thinking about on a federal level. We have more guns in this country than we have
She
humans.
wants to buy your guns. She wants to take your guns on top of it all. Oh, yes. It is all collapsing now. But here's where this is headed. See, President Trump has ordered mass denaturalizations of frauds. Special immigrant visas are now paused, asylum adjudications are halted, and the days of identity-shielded criminality are over. And the question is no longer, did Ilhan Omar violate immigration law? The allegation's been public for years. No, the question now is how long will she keep her seat and her citizenship before the system finally acts? Expel her, denaturalize her, deport her. That is what millions of Americans are demanding, and for the first time, they have an administration that's willing to investigate. The story matters because it proves the rules apply to everyone or they apply to no one. Ilhan Omar allegedly committed crimes that would destroy any ordinary citizen. Marriage fraud, tax fraud, immigration fraud, perjury, and yet she still sits in Congress voting on laws the rest of us must follow. And she lectures Americans about morality while her own district drowns in corruption. She cries racism while allegations of her crimes sit in public records. President Trump has finally said what needed to be said. If she defrauded this country, she's out. No more victim cards, no more excuses, and no more immunity. The American people deserve representatives who love this nation, not ones who allegedly exploited it to get here. So here's my question for you. Should Ilhan Omar be investigated and, if found guilty, deported? Yes or no? Let me know in the comments and grab your Patriot gear at Next News merch shop. You'll find it linked in the description.